an injury here, a wrong step there.
And did you? I'll wrap up. But anything of bad luck that you can think of in your career?
Bad luck for me. I lost probably a good 6 to 8 months of my career because of the wrist injury that
Right.
came hitting a piece of caliche in the desert with a shovel. So
Yeah.
I mean, if I was a little left or right, it would have hit sand.
Yeah. There you go.
You never know what would have happened.
As soon as going to be the
2011 Bercy, so that means I won it
99, I guess.
99. So, oh, you mean just year birthday? Okay, so it's 12 years. Yeah, no, that was a special year for me. I love that year when I look back, and to win Paris and Bercy in the same year was quite an achievement. Two extremely different set of circumstances and variables. And then I remember being in Paris in the fall and being in love. So it's a perfect place for it.
Well, just talk about your induction into the International Hall of Fame this past summer. How was that?
Really amazing, intellectually, emotionally overwhelming. To take your entire career and kind of hold it up to that sense of accomplishment and put that bow on it, just it meant the world to me. But I think seeing my wife go through it allowed me to appreciate the moment more, because I think that moment can be lost on you while you're in it. But I got to see it outside, watching her go through it, which I think left me more prepared for understanding just what it meant, and I felt like I took it all in.
Are you to the point where you really, really love tennis at the core of your being?
I don't know if it's fair to say that, because I suppose it's like any tumultuous relationship in your life. It was a hate-love with tennis, so I can't think of tennis without everything I've been through, and I don't ignore the pains it's brought me. It's a real part of my experience, and it has its wounds that it's left, but what it's given me is tenfolds. So yes, I do love the game, and I get to love it more now because I don't have to solve for it. But that doesn't mean that it's only good. You know, it came with a lot.
What do
So
you
you
think?
found a way for the love and the pain, or love and hate, to coexist.
Yeah, I found a way to choose it and take ownership of it. I don't think all of us, really, any of us, choose our lives. I think we can't say where we're born. We can't say how things are nurtured. But what we can all do is take ownership of it. We can find our reasons for what we do, and I found my reason for what I'm doing when I was 27 years old, and thank God I played another, geez, how many more years is that? Almost 9 more years. So that gave me a chance to really grow with that new sort of connection to the sport.
What do you think about playing at an event like this, going across the country, playing against the legends like Pete?
Well, I think it's a lot of fun for everybody. I think it's fun for the fans. I think it's fun for us. I think it's great for us to be around each other at a time when we're not trying to tear each other's throats out and be number one in the world or something. And I also think it lends for the time in our life, the balance of our family and priorities, as well as our physical abilities. It allows us to prepare, allows us to recover. So across the board, it's a great way to stay connected to the game.
Andre, sadly, we just lost Steve Jobs about 10 days ago or so. You've been fortunate to encounter a lot of just empowered, brilliant people. Phil Knight, Barbara Streisand, Kentarian was pretty bright. Who do you think the most brilliant person you've encountered?
It's hard to to quantify brilliance. I mean, how do you really measure that? For me, it's how you live your life, not just what your brain power is or what you contribute. I mean, what Steve Jobs did for the world is unparalleled in many respects. But I always point to Nelson Mandela and what he's done for the world, and it's an incredible company to think about changing the face of our planet. But I like seeing it done humanitarily. I like seeing the impact that somebody has when they live those values.
So that he could turn that South African situation around peacefully is just extraordinary.
That, and that he could live his values through tremendous torture. He could have got out. He could have made deals. He could have backed down. He could have walked away and walked out the doors of the prison. But he decided to stay in there for 27 years because he believed in something, and that's then to become president of the country and make people revisit how we think about each other and ourselves is remarkable.
What are you doing day to day when you're not playing tennis?
Which is most days. So let me see. My foundation is huge. What I'm doing nationally with education is at the top of my priority list. So that's number one. It takes up 60-70% of my time. Family's huge. 60-70% of my working time. My family is such a daily part of my life, and that's another thing that tennis has given me. I do speaking engagements across the country. I have a lot of relationships throughout the years that I continually nurture, so I'm pretty busy.
And I also wanted to find out, we're spoiled in this country. I'm sure we kind of talked about this before you arrived, but with respect to how the American men like yourself did in the past,
Yeah.
what's happening now?
Well, I think it's a global sport more so than ever. More competition. I think we got to get the racket in more kids' hands because we should have somebody on top. I think it's a tough time for anybody to succeed at the sport with the likes of Federer, Nadal, and Djokovic. I think if they were playing, if myself was playing in their day, you'd be asking me the same question: what's the matter with American tennis? Because they've taken the game to a whole new place. So I don't envy those that are trying to compete against it.
What do you think about what's been happening with the top players talking about the complaints about the ATP and the schedule changes and possible, I don't know about strike talk, but getting together, at least discussing it?
Well, I don't know what their particular the specifics of their concerns now, but if it's anything like in the past, it always had to do with managing a real hectic schedule and a lack of an off season. And a sport needs to make those decisions, and they need to make it collectively, and they need to make it together. I mean, I think it's hard to address everybody's concerns. I think that's why a sport doesn't move efficiently, is when they're trying to appease everybody. I think you got to make some hard decisions, and that might mean cutting the schedule. That might mean hurting tournaments. That might mean hurting players. So you need some real leadership in that respect.
What's the first thing the new ATP executive director should address?
I can't say I'm that wired into to all the given issues at the moment. I think from a 10,000-foot perspective, I think it's rough to have an organization that tries to appease a broad band of concerns. I just don't think, as it relates to the game, that a sport can move effectively or efficiently in this day and age when there's so much competition for entertainment without having a clear message, a clear point, a clear perspective, and absolute people lining up behind it.
And finally, in terms of the education world, I mean, it's such a big issue now. What is the first thing that America has to do to address our education problems?
Well, we need. It's not. You can't have resources without transparency and accountability, and that's the big issue. It's like, how do we measure where that money's being spent and how it's being spent? How do you measure the quality of a teacher in the classroom? I mean, that's what everything always ends up boiling down to, because none of us want to see our future fail. Everybody wants the children to succeed, but we all have a different perspective on who's doing that, and whether it's the best-in-class charter school operators or whether certain school districts across America. But we need to figure out a way to measure the performance of a teacher so that we can all sit down and have a collective dialogue on the steps we need to take to make sure that our children don't have their opportunity in the process. I mean, we don't have a children's union. They don't have a voice for themselves. We need to come together and figure out what that voice is.
Thank you.
And Joe referred Tsonga, recently, a few months ago now, trained with you at the academy, and he said it was very useful and you had good results afterwards that did justify what he said. Can you talk to me a bit about it and what you said, what you did?
He trained hard. I didn't do anything.
Okay.
He trained hard. I hit some balls with him on a couple of occasions. Talked to him about his game. I think the world of him. He's a sweetheart of a person.
Okay.
He's one of the best athletes that the game has, if not ever. And he is exciting to watch. I think he's fantastic for the sport. And I think he has a chance of raising his level at any given tournament and win it. So watching his game evolve has been a pleasure.
All right. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Archer.
Thanks a lot, guys.
Thank you.